It's a brand new week. Hello and welcome to the Marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, recommends to Attorney General possible prosecution of shareholders of some defunct savings and loans, as well as microfinance institutions. Also, Parliament expected to debate and approve the controversial electronic levy bill. Shall be live on the ground to give you updates as and when we do get the feed. Plus, we'll tell you about plans by the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, to prevent overcrowding of vehicles at its offices during this Yuletide.
Yeah, we find some pressure coming on us, our staff, as far as vehicle registration is concerned. But we've put in place a lot of measures to ensure we have smooth process all through.
And later in the bulletin, we gauge the mood of a section of the public in the capital on their spending plans ahead of Christmas.
I think 2000. I'm going out with my friends to Buja Beach at Wija to have some fun.
I started buying my things before the Christmas because when we wait to the D-Day, things are going to be increased.
We have all these stories and more coming up shortly. Do stay with us. Now, the Economic and Organized Crime Office has recommended to the Attorney General's Department possible prosecution of shareholders of some defunct savings and loans companies as well as microfinance institutions. This is after the receiver appointed by the Bank of Ghana referred these institutions to the Central Bank for some advice. George Rafi has the rest of the story.
The prosecution is expected to cover 10 microfinance companies and 10 savings and loans firms that were liquidated by the receiver appointed by the Bank of Ghana. Key among these firms in terms of their names are Ideal Finance, GN Savings and Loans, and CDA Savings and Loans, as well as Unique Credit Savings and Loans. While on the side of the microfinance institutions, Yadefua Danfo and CIG are among the few names that have been captured in the 10 list of companies put forward by the Central Bank. According to a statement issued by the Bank of Ghana, the Economic and Organized Crime Office has taken this action after conducting an independent investigation as to how the shareholders and directors of these defunct institutions have contributed to their collapse. According to the Economic and Organized Crime Office, it is working hard with the Attorney General's office towards the speedy prosecution of these persons and individuals behind these companies. In a related development, the Economic and Organized Crime Office says it is investigating some firms over possible financial crime. Now, this was after these institutions made fake claims of large amounts of funds remitted through their banks that has been withheld by the Bank of Ghana. However, after several investigations, it revealed that these claims were fake and has therefore made some progress towards the prosecution of these said firms and individuals behind these companies.
Well, let's stay a little longer on this issue as we're joined by Zoom by financial analyst and finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, for his perspective on this story. Of course, we're grateful that you could join us. What do you make of this statement calling for prosecution?
Thank you. The prosecution is in the right direction because the law makes it clear that if directors and higher management level personnel of banks or financial institutions do engage in activities that bring a financial institution onto its needs, in other words, license revocation, then it is right that the regulator, if the regulator believes that there are some financial underhand dealings, will bring the perpetrators to book. So it is in the right direction.
But of course, there are questions about the time spent in this entire liquidation process. You know, as an expert in the field and a lecturer as well, do you think the Bank of Ghana has kept too long a time in dealing with the liquidation process?
You see, in issues like this, you have to be a bit cautious and then make sure that you get your facts right before you finally hand over your investigations and cases that you have raised to the appropriate courts to deal with. Yes, there is a concern that it has been slow, but you don't want to get it wrong. So if the delay from Bank of Ghana is to make sure that the right thing is done, then we should embrace it. It is better we hasten slowly to get to the bottom of it, to have in place lessons that repeat it, that will prevent it from happening in the future, than to rush the whole process and then in the end becomes problematic for all of us. So indeed, it is good that finally we are getting the headlight on that Bank of Ghana is taking the case to EOCO for possible prosecutions.
And speaking of lessons, what could be the impact of this particular move by the central bank on the confidence that will be reposed, or if not removed, on the savings and loans companies as well as the microfinance sectors?
It is important because the signal to the market is that you can't run any financial institutions anyway, anyhow. You have to play by the rules and make sure that you get your act right. It was worrying when it looked like the central bank was not responding to holding the possible characters responsible for the wrong that may have been committed. But now that we have the central bank coming out to say that it is at a position where it can hand over its investigation to EOCO for possible prosecution, we think that clearly the market will respond positively and it will create high level of confidence for us to do business with the microfinance as well as the savings and loans institutions.
Indeed, and of course, as regards the first part of the statement, does it appear that there are yet again crippling money laundering activities within the space, as we have seen?
Yeah, the issue of money laundering is something that, unfortunately, we cannot do without, because you see, most especially today that we have technology driving banking and banking services, you will always have individuals who may want to use the system that has been created to illegally accrue funds to themselves or to move funds from one end of the world to the other. But it will also be reassuring to know that the regulator and the players of the industry will have in place measures to spot some of these red flags, some of these suspicious activities, and when they spot it, they can deal with it and then make sure that whoever is behind such wrongful acts are dealt with, so that the industry will be clean for us, the industry will allure the confidence that we all need to have in the industry so we can engage in the financial services industry. So it is indeed good that the regulator is clamping on suspected money laundering issues.
Indeed, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, we're grateful that you could join us. He is a financial analyst and finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Well, we still stay with the Bank of Ghana because it says the lack of technological appreciation of some banking staff is affecting its fight against money laundering in the country. This is due to the fact that some of the fraudsters are now adopting sophisticated approaches from tech platforms to move illegal funds around. Now, these concerns came up during a workshop in Takoradi, and of course, Natalia Quanta has the rest of the story.
Ghana was the first country in West Africa that went through the second round of mutual evaluation. And after the exercise, some deficiency regimes were identified in the financial sector of the country. After the identification, Ghana's financial regime was expected to be improved under the supervision of the International Review Group. In June this year, Ghana came off the FATF grey list after the International Cooperation Review Group conducted its on-site examination on Ghana in May to remain off the grey list.
Ghana was grey listed by the Financial Action Task Force, and it has to do with money laundering and terrorist financing. During that period, we have to take our regulated institutions through a series of workshops, sensitize them to improve on their compliance with the relevant money laundering and terrorist financing laws and regulation in Ghana. So we started this and we are continuing. Even though we are off the grey list, as I indicated, we have to prepare for the next round of mutual evaluation.
Mr. Nkrumah explains that the Bank of Ghana is focusing on the rural banks and microfinance institutions because they have low compliance levels.
When it comes to technical compliance, Ghana is up there. But when it comes to effectiveness, that is where we have the problem. And as I indicated earlier, we are targeting the low-tier institutions, microfinance institutions, microfinance institutions, rural and community banks, and even forex bureaus to make sure that they put in place measures to mitigate it, so that when we get to the third round of mutual evaluation, we'll not go back to the grey list.
Participants are being taken through one of the key aspects of continuous due diligence process of transaction monitoring. Here are some participants who have been sharing with Joy Business the importance of the training to their institution.
The training is in the right direction. I believe strongly it's important for us to more or less update ourselves, equip our knowledge as regards to the emerging trends. So it's something that will equip us for us to implement the various policies, guidelines, and also comply with the various AMS, CFT laws and other things. Yeah, that we are working with.
It will guide us on how to go about the policies, and then the procedures Bank of Ghana wants us to follow in order not to go Ghana, not to go into grey list again. And with this training, it's also impacting us, making us effective in our operations. This training will also help us to perform our duties as expected. So it's very, very important.
For Joy Business in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
Well, to one story that we're following closely for you, Parliament has today resumed sitting to consider the approval or otherwise of the electronic transaction levy, the E-Levy bill, since the government made it known its decision to introduce the 1.75% E-Levy as part of measures to widen the tax net. The minority in Parliament have registered their displeasure, insisting that the implementation of the bill will worsen the plight of Ghanaians. Well, joining us via Zoom on the ground actually for some update is our parliamentary correspondent Parker Wilson. For more, Parker, what's the latest happening in Parliament on the subject matter?
Charles, let me report to you that Parliament in itself is here to commence business for the day. However, the Finance Committee is still having deliberations on the E-Levy as I speak to you. They are just behind me where the engagement is still ongoing. It is the view of the majority that their members or their colleagues on the NDC side will see reason as to why they need to recommend for the approval of the E-Levy. But we are getting the information that the minority is still insisting that the E-Levy should be abandoned or suspended. And so even in the committee meeting, there seems to be some level of disagreement between the NPP and the NDC. So until that is done, until they are done with their meeting or the deliberation and subsequently put together a report and submit it to Parliament or the plenary for consideration, the E-Levy bill would not come to Parliament until the Finance Committee is done with their meeting. So for now, even when Parliament begins sitting or commences their business for the day, they will not take the E-Levy until the Finance Committee is done and put together the report. But I must say that I've spoken to some leadership of the minority, and they are still insisting that no E-Levy, in spite of what the telcos have done. You know, they have reduced the charges to about 0.25%. The minority is insisting that just as the NPP suspended their amendment during the annual delegate conference, they should do same for the E-Levy and allow for broader consultation before they reintroduce the levy back to Parliament. But until then, they are going to kick against the E-Levy. And again, we're told that, in fact, last Friday, Charles, if you recall, I reported that the Finance Committee again was forced to suspend sitting or deliberations on the E-Levy to allow for broader consultation. 3 or 2 days on, that consultation, we are told, did not happen. The government failed to consult the telcos, meet the minority, key policy stakeholders. The CSOs will be raising concerns about the E-Levy. And that is what the minority is saying, that the NPP perhaps seems to have less regard for the people of this country. And going forward, they will ensure that they mobilize all their 137 members to vote against the E-Levy. So it's promising to be an exciting day in Parliament when the Finance Committee completes its work and submits the report to the plenary.
Indeed, and of course, Parker, as you've been stating, that both are on entrenched positions. We're seeing government, the finance minister say, hey, this is the only way by which we could expand the tax net and rake in much revenue. We're also seeing the minority part also making their stance that this isn't the best way to go. It must be taken off. What happens then in the unlikely event that both sides of the House do not reach a consensus on this matter?
If they don't reach a consensus on this matter, eventually they will subject the bill to a vote. And so the vote will now determine. And here in Parliament, it's about simple majority. So the vote will determine whether NPP has won or NDC has won. And I'm sure you know the numbers in the House. NPP carries, of course, 137 plus the independent candidate who is working with the NPP. So making the majority number 138 as against the NDC having 137. So in the event that the NPP manages to mobilize all their members in the chamber today, then what it means is that you and I should be expecting the adoption and subsequent passage of the E-Levy, which is going to take effect from next year. But if they don't have their numbers, then the NDC would vote to reject it. And again, if the vote is a tie, 137, what it means is that the motion will still be lost, and so the E-Levy will be rejected. So we should wait until all the members return to the chamber to begin the process for today. I know that some of the NPP MPs who went to Kumasi for the annual delegate conference are still on their way. Some of them have arrived though, others too are still on their way. And I know that the whip, the majority chief whip, Frank Anadopre, is doing all his best, all he can, to ensure that all the NPP MPs are in the chamber to vote in favor of the E-Levy, which we are told that every member of Parliament needs roads, every member of Parliament wants some educational facility, some health facility, and it is only the E-Levy that would make provisions or make it possible for developmental projects going forward into the 2022 a year or next year. So let's wait and see if the NPP will be able to mobilize or have all their members in the chamber. Until then, we don't know the fate of the E-Levy.
Indeed, and we shall keep an eye on Parliament to give updates as and when we have them. Parker, we're grateful that you could join us, our parliamentary correspondent there. Well, to some development story that we have for you, Ghana has placed travel restrictions on 3 countries over fears of the Omicron variant. Of course, these countries include Malta, Israel and South Korea. This was a statement, contained by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. You can see that on your screens there. It states that the ministry wishes to inform the general public that the government of Ghana has initiated a temporary travel restriction on all travelers arriving from Israel from Monday, which is today, for a period of 14 days, except in exceptional humanitarian cases or during official travels. Now, the permission will have to be obtained from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration in exceptional situations. Now, this is the end of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs statement in regard to, the state of Israel. And this very press statement also has to do with Malta and South Korea in the same light. So this is a story that we're bringing to you currently. Ghana placing some travel restrictions on Israel, Malta and South Korea over fears of the Omicron variant. We shall follow this closely to give you updates in our subsequent bulletins. Of course, you're still watching The Marketplace. Still to come in the bulletin, we'll tell you about plans by the DVLA to prevent overcrowding of vehicles at its offices during the Yuletide.
Some pressure coming on us, our staff, as far as vehicle registration is concerned. But we've put in place a lot of measures to ensure we have smooth process all through.
And you're welcome back. The DVLA has begun measures to reduce pressure on its network and offices for vehicle registration exercise. According to the authority, it has built capacity of existing technology and human resource that will ensure that vehicle registration is done seamlessly for the period. The Deputy Managing Director, Prince Edupoku, disclosed this to Joy Business at an end-of-year carols and awards night for staff of the authority.
The processes for registering vehicles at the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, has been streamlined to ensure that many processing points are available for the public to get served. However, there is always some pressure at the offices towards the end of the year and beginning of a new year as vehicle owners rush to get new number plates. Deputy Chief Executive of DVLA, Prince Edupoku, however, assures that measures are being put in place this year to avoid crowd at registration points.
This is business as usual for us. Every year, especially the first few weeks of the year, we find some pressure coming on us, our staff, as far as vehicle registration is concerned. But we've put in place a lot of measures to ensure we have smooth process all through. This is COVID-19 era, and so we are trying to deploy some digital payment options so that you don't find a lot of people crowding in our various banking halls to make payment. We believe that next year there will be a lot of improvement. People will see that we have improved. Every year we seek to move forward, and I have no doubt that come 2022 we would see further improvements as far as the peak season, which we call the peak season, is concerned.
Mr. Edupoku also hinted that work is ongoing to ensure only worthy vehicles are on the roads.
DVLA is about safety, and so all our efforts are geared towards ensuring safety on our roads, both on the driver's side and on the vehicle side. We have to improve further on our operations. We have to ensure that we make the customers or the driving public comfortable when they come to our offices for any service. We have to ensure that we implement systems that would only ensure roadworthy vehicles on our roads. And this is all work in progress.
This year's carol service and awards was used to celebrate some dedicated staff, including board members and chief executive of the authority, for their achievements during the year. The chief executive used the occasion to admonish staff to improve on customer service.
And we're still in the Christmas move. Do you wish to have a list or budget for the season? James Ishan takes us to town to get reaction from some Ghanaians who expressed mixed sentiment about this question.
Barely 8 days to Christmas, your pocket or bank account will decide the level of celebration. So you need to manage your wish list, more especially when you haven't saved enough for the festive season.
It's few days to Christmas. Did you really save and budget for this Christmas? I did. Let's get some reactions from Ghanaians.
Kofi, a national service personnel, would definitely take a crowd by storm by chilling around with friends with a budget of 2,000 Ghana cedis.
Yeah, I saved for the Christmas. Specifically, I saved about, I think, 2,000. I'm going out with my friends to Bojo Beach at Weija to have some fun. And also on the 25th of December, we're having some carol service at my church as well. So specifically, we'll just be having fun just this Christmas.
Jojo, a shoe seller, has already prepared for his kids for this Christmas.
Normally, I budgeted for my kids. As you know, Christmas is for the kids, so I didn't budget for me, myself. I started buying my things before the Christmas because when we wait to the D-Day, things are going to be increased.
Kuyamaza, however, saved for the Christmas, but prefers to be with family.
I did save.
And do you have any budget for Christmas?
I can save, I can save and budget, but I end up sleeping in my room. I won't go anywhere.
Why? Tell me more.
No, it's not something I usually do. Christmas is for the family, so I stay in my house, enjoy my family, prepare the cake, the usual thing, follow my bed and sleep.
Ikuya, a soon-to-be lawyer, prefers to celebrate the Christmas with fufu and some good soup.
Yes, I did put some money aside. So mostly what I budgeted for was gifts for people. So specific people, I have money set aside for them to get them gifts this Christmas.
Varied views there. That's how we end this edition of The Marketplace. I'm Charles Aite. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.